That's right. We're back for another big series. This is the Blue Glasses series. So at the start of each video, you know you're with the Object Manipulation and Progress series. My name is Paul Marlette. I'm here in conjunction with the ARPDC. And as you can see, for the first time, I'm in my gym. And I also have a lovely assistant this time. This is my beautiful daughter, Zoe. Hi, Zoe. Zoe's here to be my catcher and my sender. So in this series, we are going to be going through all of the major object manipulations. We're going to be doing throwing, catching, kicking, receiving, striking, batting. Each one's going to be its own little video. So because this is the very first video, what I'm going to do is take a few minutes just to go over some of the overarching ideas. This is our first video on sending. So there are a couple of keys that are always going to show up. Number one is body position. Right? So am I in a good body position to send the object that I'm going to be sending? Am I using some kind of rotation? You're going to be sick of that word. The next one is the release. When am I releasing the object and how am I releasing the object? Last one is the follow through. And what you're going to hear a lot of is this notion of perpendicular and parallel. So if you're my partner right now, I consider this to be parallel. Okay, if we both put our arms out, we are parallel to each other. Other resources call this face on. If I'm like this, okay, where I'm side on, okay, this is actually, I call this perpendicular, because my arms would be perpendicular to yours. All right. The other language from the cusps that they're using is this notion of a prep phase, a carrying out phase, and a completion phase. So the resource that I've built for everyone, it's quite extensive. The first 15 pages are kind of my scope and sequence. And then I found this amazing group out of Australia who have some really good teaching cues that I've put together for you as well. But in there, we're going to be referring to 4 stages. So my goal in this series is for you to have a visual so you can start to analyze and assess your own students' growth and where they're starting from. And those phases are, let me just grab it here. Just want to make sure I use the same one. So the first one is emerging. So emerging is when they've had almost no instruction. The next one is a developing phase. The third one is that they've acquired all the basic skill set. And the last one is what we're calling in this series the accomplished. So 4 series, 4 stages, and that's what I'm going to be demonstrating. Again, in my gym, no collar today. Fancy shoes, athletic shoes, I'm ready to rock. So I'm going to take you through all 4 stages so you get a visual and also give you a couple of tips on how to progress through them. This video series is not about how to teach, it's giving you the visuals so you can adjust. Without further ado, let's get going. This is the catching. No, it's not the catching one. This is the throwing one, sending. So this is the grandfather skill. This is the skill that's the keystone skill because it's going to actually carry on in every single sport that your students are going to participate in from now on. And in elementary, we get to use all kinds of stuff. So just a quick note in terms of what you can have kids throw. Younger kids, small dodgeballs are fantastic. They're soft, they're easy, they roll slow. I also really like to use shuttles. Why? Because when you throw a shuttle, it doesn't go very fast, it doesn't go very far. When you're dealing with really little kids, K to 3 even, or even older too, beanbags are phenomenal. Why? Because when I throw it, it doesn't roll away from me. You can also put tennis balls in pantyhose because that's going to slow them down after. So kids they spend their time throwing instead of running after them. The other thing, one of my favorites is, mine's a little disgusting, but these things are fantastic. So you can't go wrong with the pigs, chickens, fish, all of that kind of stuff too. Okay, anything where students can get their hands on to throw will make things awesome. Another really good one that I like to use in elementary are these really squishy foam balls. Same thing, they're not going to go very far, and when kids don't have good throwing form, it's just a good place to start. Right? So the first thing that we are looking at, I'm going to be using the dodgeball to start because you'll be able to see it. The first thing is positioning. Now I'm going to demonstrate all of these on the side so you get this view, and then I'm going to do them all facing the camera. So in the developing phase, what you're going to see on this generally starts when kids are about 4 to 5 years old. Anyone who has kids know that kids love to throw food out of their high chair. Okay? It's one of those basic skills that we develop. So very first phase, this is the developing phase of throwing. I'm going to demonstrate it, then I'll break it down. It looks like this. Okay, one more time. So my partner is off to the side. Okay. Early on in this series, what I talked about was that whenever you're doing throwing, you should always have a target. So what are we seeing there? Can I actually have you slide over to that side? So yeah, we're going to do it face on right away. So in this one, okay, the feet are going to be tall, okay, and maybe moving a little bit. Sorry, that was too far. And the arm is going to come up and just throw. Notice that there's no motion. Okay, so one more time. Developing stage of throwing, legs are solid, arm is just kind of throwing, there's no follow through, the other side doesn't do anything. Okay? So in that initial phase, our setup is parallel to our target. Okay? As we're controlling, it's just the arm. The next thing, the follow through is just down to the arm. Now, as we move a little bit forward, the next thing you're going to see students do is they're going to start to put their same leg forward as their hand. It looks like this. Okay? So when we look at the front, the big thing here is that we're having progress. They're starting to have a little bit of momentum. Okay? Looks like this. If you ever want to feel this, try and throw with your non-dominant hand. Okay? In the resource, one of the things I really recommend is that you're always using bilateral. Great. So a couple of the keys, you can slide back, sweetheart. A couple of the keys here is that they're stepping with the same leg as they are arm. Okay, it's a progress, but it's not a mature way to throw. The other thing is that they're going to get a little rotation because that foot is designed to start to twist. When we get into the acquired phase, what we're trying to encourage students to do now is to actually start with their opposite foot. So if I'm right-handed, I have my left foot forward. Okay? Now, ideally, what we're looking for is this. Okay? So we get this. We get like a point where we're going. Awesome. Fantastic. So the keys here is as we're starting to develop a more mature throwing style, I like to have them point first. This is the key, point. That opposite foot is forward, and as they throw, they're going to be a little bit more of a rotation. Watch the foot come off the back. So I point and I throw. That heel is starting to come up. Okay, that's going to initiate the keystone skill of rotation. I can't stress that enough, especially for elementary, because every sport we have is going to have rotation. Notice that my dot is in front of me now. When we get to the accomplished step, it becomes very smooth. So now, instead of point, step, throw, it's going to be very mechanical on the outset. Okay, you'll actually see students think through it. Point at your target, step, and throw. You can use a palm too. Pointing's not so nice. Your kids might call you on that. So I'm going to point, step, throw. That's the acquired. The accomplished is going to look a little different. Okay? We're actually going to start set up perpendicular to my target. Okay? So now I'm actually set up perpendicular. That's what we're looking for. As I come in, I'm going to step first, point, and then throw. So the final phase should look like this. I'm setting up perpendicular. I'm going to step, point, throw. One more time. Step, point, throw. I want you to see this from the other side because the big change here is that how we set up is very different. And as we step through, the left arm, our non-dominant arm, is actually rotating and pulling through. The follow-through is going to be way down by my leg, not just out in front from the beginner. So this is the accomplished. Okay, I'm going to step, point, throw. Notice the follow-through. One more time. Step, point, throw. Okay, fantastic. So those are the four main stages, and you can break them down into these different fragments. So the first one is body position. If all your students are standing like this and throwing, well, next thing to do is actually, you can skip this, the middle phase, the developing phase, get them stepping with that opposite foot. If you can get a grade 1 and 2 kid to start throwing with their opposite foot forward and pointing, you're halfway there. Right? I play a game called step, point, throw, or point, step, throw, dodgeball. And the goal is to actually throw it to someone on the other team. So it's not an elimination game, but I am actually looking for them to point at who they're throwing at, step, and throw. The other big thing that you'll start to notice is that initially the hand comes up and down. As I start to get into the more developed, you get a back swing of the arm, a bend, and then a throw. Right? I want to just show you the same motion with a few different implements. So I've shown you with we use a football. I've shown you with a beanbag, with a birdie. What happens if we go to a football? Okay? Football, like so many sports, there is specifics. So how you hold the football matters. Right? Probably only doing this in the upper elementary, maybe grade 5, 6. If you have smaller balls, even younger. But initially, they're going to start throwing like this. Notice that I'm parallel to my partner. Parallel, just one arm is moving. Right? And as this progresses, I go right to my acquired. I'm now perpendicular to my target. I'm going to step. I have this prep phase. I point. The rotation drives from the foot, and my follow-through comes down to my other hand. Very interestingly, almost identical to when you smash a badminton birdie as well. Rugby ball. This is a really interesting one because now a rugby ball is actually thrown with two hands. So if I'm throwing to my partner, I'm still going to set up perpendicular. Okay? The cool thing with these rugby balls is that I now get to do a very different motion, more like a golf swing. Right? But the rotation is still there. You're looking for these keys. So I'm starting here, I rotate, and I follow through. Okay? So it's just a very different, can you tell my daughter played rugby? That was a perfect spiral. So I'm stepping, I'm spinning. Just as a note of caution, okay, do you want to grab the Frisbee or the disc? Note of caution, there are a few sports where we don't start facing the same way. If you're doing ultimate Frisbee, the rules completely change. Okay? So it's really hard for me to start perpendicular to my target and throw this the way most kids know how to. So although this works, it works for about 90% of sports. Okay? It works for about 90% of sports. So that's the introduction to throwing. The big thing is that to identify those key pieces. How are they set up? What is their body doing and how are they finishing? And hopefully that'll help you move through. Okay? Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you on the next one, which is how to catch. Have a great day. We'll see you on the other side.